What's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another video, and today we're going to be talking about the Golden State Warriors, who've been one of the strangest stories this entire NBA season, which isn't something you typically say. Most years, if this Golden State core is healthy, they come into things, they dominate for most of the year, go into the playoffs as one of the prohibitive favorites, they probably make the finals, and when they get there, they most likely win the finals. Then they repeat it all over again if they're healthy. I mean, they were coming off a finals appearance heading into this season. But this Dubs team doesn't feel like the typical Warriors teams that we've seen. They've been hovering right around 500 most of the season, been in and out of the play-in tournament. Steph Curry has dealt with a lot of injuries. They've been missing time from some of the other key guys. Things just feel off, and for a number of reasons, which we're going to get to in this video, I don't feel very confident in saying that they're a championship contender. In fact, I would go as far to say I don't really think they are a contender this season, which feels wild to say when you think about what this Warriors team has done when this core is healthy. Like I just said, most years they win a championship, but there are some reasons why I just don't feel the same type of fear that I feel typically with a Golden State Warriors squad. And we'll get into all of that. But first, let's talk about their game they had last night, because I think it illustrates some of their issues. Steph Curry was amazing. He had 40 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, and hit 10 threes. He was turning around before threes even went in. He was literally shooting them and then running across half court. He was in one of those zones. And this has been the Steph Curry we've seen most of the year when he is healthy, which has been an issue. He's been in and out of the lineup, and maybe the Warriors will figure everything out once Curry has a more sustained period of time leading into the playoffs. But I don't think so, because we've been seeing this Steph all year and they've still been having struggles even when he's playing. But it's not in Steph Curry. He's been incredible. Same with Klay Thompson. I also don't think their struggles are quite on Klay. He's having the best season he's had since he came back from those multiple year-off injuries. He had 23 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 dimes last night. He knocked down 5 threes. He's been playing really good basketball, efficient basketball. He looks like the Klay Thompson of old, basically, which is an amazing sign for Golden State and another reason why they probably still are scary to most teams in that Western Conference. He isn't quite the defender he used to be, which I didn't expect him to be, coming off multiple, like I said, year-off-long injuries, but offensively, it's the Klay Thompson of old. But outside the Splash Brothers, things have not been going well for this team as a whole. They're 34-32 on the season, 6th right now in the Western Conference as I'm recording this video, tied with the Dallas Mavericks, who are in the 5 spot. And I think the Warriors can get up to that 5, which is better than being in the play-in, which they could also fall into because everything is so close. In fact, if everything went disastrously, they could theoretically fall out of the play-in tournament. Now, I don't think they will. They still have Steph Curry. They still are the Golden State Warriors. But there is a possibility, and I think that really in itself showcases how kind of mediocre they've been most of the season. They've just been kind of middle of the pack, as most of the Western Conference are, and that's not where you want to be as the reigning champions. So the question is, what is their problem? What aren't they doing well? Let's first talk about their offense, which I don't think is the main issue, but it is something that we can go over. They're 13th right now in offensive rating. They were actually worse offensively last season, where they ranked 16th in offensive rating, so they've actually improved a little bit, which makes sense. Like I said, Klay Thompson has played the entire season, unlike last year, and has been really, really good on that end. Steph Curry is having a better year than he had last year as well, so it makes sense that they're better offensively. Now, they do still have some issues specifically with turnovers. They're the second worst team in the league when it comes to turnovers, but they actually were exactly in that same spot last season. Most of that comes due to their high pace. They're the fastest paced team in the league, which I'm sure is no surprise to you if you've watched the Golden State Warriors in this era. They like to run down the court, jack up a 3, pass the ball around a lot, so it makes sense they would have a good bit of turnovers. I do want to note with that 3-point thing, I do think sometimes they settle a bit too much into 3-point shooting. That was one of their biggest issues tonight against OKC, where they kind of just fell in love with the 3-point shot, especially at the end. They were getting some good looks, and they just were missing them, so eventually you would think they would try to attack inside. Wasn't exactly the case, and I mean, the Thunder don't exactly have a rim protector on the roster right now. Once again, another reason why you would expect them to attack the interior, but they never really did it. They just kind of stuck to the 3-point line, and I do think that's an issue. But overall, their offense, like I said, is better than last season, so that's not really my main concern. However, the big difference is that while last season they were a middle-of-the-pack offensive team, they were an elite defensive squad. They were the second best defense in the entire NBA. This season, they're once again middle of the pack offensively, in fact, a little bit better, but they're also kind of meh defensively. They're the 15th ranked defense in the entire league, and there's a number of reasons for why they've completely collapsed on that end. The first big one is that Gary Payton II hasn't been on the team the entire season. He left them in free agency as one of their better defenders to head to the Portland Trail Blazers. But funnily enough, he actually is back on the Warriors. If you didn't know, they traded for him at the deadline to bring him back because the defense has been such a big issue. Unfortunately, he's dealing with a core injury, which caused him to play less than 20 games for Portland before being dealt. And now here on the Warriors, we don't know when he's going to be back, if maybe he even doesn't come back by the time the playoffs roll around. And even if you're going into the playoffs, it's hard to ramp up having a core injury like that. So I don't know when or if we will see GP2 this season. So he's probably not going to be the savior of this defense even when he does come back. Same with Andrew Wiggins, who right now is dealing with some personal matters. Hopefully everything's okay with him, but there's no timetable for him returning. And even when he does, he individually is not going to fix their defensive woes. Outside of those guys, Draymond Green isn't as good as he was defensively last season. He's still really good interior wise, but on the perimeter, he's getting blown by a lot more. He's not nearly as good of a one-on-one defender. Jordan Poole is awful defensively. He can't really hold his own. Klay Thompson, like I said, is no longer the defender he used to be. And overall, they just have some issues. But one stat in particular that highlights something super strange that actually segues perfectly into the exact thing I want to cover at the end here of this video is that when they're at home, the Golden State Warriors are a top 3 defense. They're the 3rd best defense in the entire league in games played at Chase Center. They're locking up, so if they get GP2 back and Andrew Wiggins comes back consistently, all of a sudden, they've got one of the best defenses, maybe the single best defense in the league at home. But when you look at them on the road, they're the 27th ranked defense on the road. It's abysmal. And this is the biggest catalyst for the big problem the Warriors have. They suck on the road. Now you might be saying, okay, I'm sure they don't suck on the road. That's probably just an exaggeration. No, it's the truth. At home, they look like one of the best teams in the league. They're 27-7. The only teams that have a better home record than them are Milwaukee, Denver, Memphis, and Cleveland. All some of the best teams in the entire NBA. But on the road, they are 7-25. That's nearly the exact opposite of their home record, and the only teams that have a worse road record than the Warriors are the Rockets, the Spurs, and the Pistons, all of which are trying to lose on purpose, and Detroit is 7-26, so if the Warriors lose their next road game, they'll have the exact same road record as the Detroit Pistons, who are on purpose trying to tank for Victor Wembanyama. In fact, they haven't won a road game since January 30th, over a month ago, and in that time, they faced the Blazers on the road, the Clippers, the Lakers twice, and the Thunder, all teams that are in this play-in realm at the moment. You would expect that they would win at least one of these games, but they didn't. And sure, they didn't have Steph Curry for most of them. They didn't have Andrew Wiggins for most of them. But even still, if you're trying to be a championship contender, you would expect that they would win one of those games within a month. But they didn't. And you might be saying, okay, this is one stretch, it doesn't mean that much. It's been a problem all season. They began the year with a couple wins, and then they had a 5-game losing streak, I believe it was, on the road right there at the beginning of the year, which is what got most people to say, oh shoot, what's going on with Golden State in the first place? And like I said, they've got 7 wins on the road this entire season. And those wins on the road were against the Rockets, the Timberwolves, Toronto, the Spurs, the Wizards, the Cavaliers, and the Thunder. The Cavs are the only solidified playoff team on that list at this point in the season. Everybody else is hanging right around that play-in range. It's not good if you're trying to be a championship contender. They have a 21.8% winning percentage on the road, which is absolutely ridiculous. They just fall apart mainly defensively the second they leave Chase Center. Let's use this information in the context of the point I made earlier where I said I don't know if the Warriors are capable of winning a championship because of their issues, this road discrepancy being the biggest one. Last season, the Warriors en route to a title won 53% of their road games. If we go back through the past few champions, the Bucks in 2021 won 55%, the Lakers won 75%, the Raptors won 63%, and the 2018 Warriors won 70%. Every single one of those squads won 55% or better. The Warriors won 53% or better. So 53%, they won a title. I went back 23 years, all the way back to the year 2000 to look at every single finals winner's winning percentage on the road. Not a single one had a percentage below 50%. There were a couple right around 50%, like the Miami Heat in 06, where they went 21-20, but not a single squad below 50% that won a title. the Golden State Warriors have a winning percentage on the road that is less than half of 50%. That's an incredibly concerning number for a team that wants to compete for a championship. You have to be able to win road games to even make it out of the first round, never mind compete for a title, especially because the Warriors right now don't have home court advantage in the playoffs, and I don't think they will, especially when you consider the fact that they have 16 games left, 9 of which are on the road. One of them is against Houston, which they will almost assuredly win, but the rest of them are against decent to good squads. So there's a real chance they lose 7 or 8 of those games. If they lose a couple at home, all of a sudden they finish the season 500 almost exactly, and they're trying to compete for a spot in the playoffs through the play-in tournament. They faced off against like the Denver Nuggets or another great team at the 2 spot. When they head into things, they don't have home court advantage. They can't win on the road. Suddenly they're a first-round exit, never mind competing for a title. In fact, the only teams to win a first-round playoff series with a below 500 away record in the past 3 years were the Atlanta Hawks in 2021 and the Miami Heat back in 2020. And sure, the Hawks went to the Eastern Conference Finals and the Heat went to the finals, but both of those teams were like right below 50. They weren't at 21% like Golden State is. So you're probably expecting at this point in the video for me to give you an answer. Why are they so bad on the road, especially defensively? Why do they just completely collapse? But I don't have an answer. I've been searching for one to make this video. That's part of why I haven't made it basically all season. I really don't know, and it's not just me. The Golden State Warriors themselves, Draymond Green was asked in a post-game press conference following this Thunder loss, why are y'all so bad on the road? What happens when you leave, Chase Center? He said, I don't know. I wish I could tell y'all what the issue is. I checked on the Warriors Reddit. They don't know. I asked some friends of mine who are Warriors fans. They don't really have an answer. There was nothing concrete that I can give you that points to the reasoning behind this. It's just happening, which feels weird. I wouldn't be super surprised from a team that was, say, really, really young or inexperienced, but this is a team full of NBA champions. They won it last season. Curry, Clay, Iguodala, Draymond have won 4 titles. Steve Kerr has won 4 NBA titles, but yet they can't seem to win a road game regardless of who it's against. Even their young guys like Jonathan Kuminga and Jordan Poole, who are both playing significant roles, have won a title. They are experienced at this point, even if they are younger. I don't understand, and it's a major issue. You might be thinking I'm overblowing this, but I really don't think I am. This is one of the biggest issues why I don't know if I see the Warriors as a championship contender at the moment. Maybe GP2 and Wiggins will come back and all of a sudden everything's fixed and they're back to normal, or they get to the playoffs and they flip a switch and they're back. But I don't think it's going to happen. Neither of those guys are a superstar caliber player that's going to come in and fix all of their problems. They've got a lot of them. I don't quite know what's going on. Maybe some of it is just chemistry issues. Draymond Green had a moment in this Thunder game where he got frustrated with Jordan Poole and just completely walked off in the middle of the play, which resulted in a turnover. There was also Draymond punching Poole at the beginning of the season, which immediately threw the whole year into turmoil. So maybe there's some in-house problems that's throwing off their chemistry, their rhythm, in particular on the road, but I feel like that would show some signs at home as well. I really don't know what's going on, but all I can say is if they don't figure this out, it's going to be really hard to win a championship or even make it out of the first round, and I think it's a little too late for them to really make any significant changes. So I don't know if this team's really a championship contender at all. With all that being said, I appreciate y'all watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. Let me know what you think about the Golden State Warriors. Am I overreacting to this? Are they still championship contenders? Or do you agree with me that the issues that they have are a little too big to overcome at this moment? I appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all later. Real One Say back.